Oh, even if you guys do suck, at least we'll still get to watch the game.
It's not just about getting tickets to the game. It's about the whole world seeing what Tonga can do, man. Look how far we came already.
We will not be embarrassed in front of everyone.
He and his band can make us all proud.
Well done, everyone.
Good.
You think you can do better?
All right, thanks, Bonnie.
Malolele and Talofa to two amazing creatives that embody the well-deserved attention and excitement for Pacifica storytelling in Aotearoa and world cinema. Damon Fepuleai is an Aotearoa-born director of Samoan and European heritage with work spanning across an award-winning short film as well as directing in television. Aotearoa-born JP Foliaki brings the mawhana in the lead role and draws on his professional and creative capacities, always with the heart of the community at the centre. Red, White and Brass will have its Australian premiere at the Sydney Film Festival after its release in Aotearoa, as well as film festivals, the Hawaiian International Film Festival, as well as the LAAPFF. Red, White and Brass is in cinemas June 22. Damon and JP, malo albito, thank you so much and welcome to the For Your Reference podcast.
Malolele, thank you for having us. Malo.
Well, this is really exciting. We have Damon with his feature film directorial debut, as well as JP in a leading major role. I would love to get just an idea of how that felt, what the process was like. Damon, if you want to go first, if that's okay.
Yeah. Once again, thanks for having us here, and that was an awesome promo for us too. I was getting goosebumps. I was like, wow.
I'll send the clip.
It makes us really good. I came on board partway through the process, and the story is a true life story. And
shout out to Noah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Noah's basically had the story, and the two of us wrote the script together, and yeah, that's how it sort of all started for me. And once the film was greenlit, I was on as director as well. So yeah, it was very exciting for me.
Was there much of a difference between like directing Head High, we really love in the For Your Reference podcast, by the way. Yeah, well, super fans. It's a shame it's not continuing. So how was it directing in television to film?
Yeah, I had quite a varied sort of CV in terms of the sort of things I've made. And I did spend about 4 or 5 years just doing sketch comedy, which I think fast turnaround television, which kind of put me in good stead to do something like this, I think. So it was kind of my training ground, because we'd always, with sketches, you're always kind of making different genres all the time. It's like, oh, we're going to do a trailer, it's like a horror. Oh, we're going to do like a musical. So that helped. But then the difference going into film was just how long everything takes. Like with film, it's like it's a beautiful medium, like it's a but everything is like, it just requires more lighting and more time. Everything's kind of more there's more work goes into it, whereas in television it's just like, oh yeah, you set it up, you shoot it really quickly, then you move on. And even though we didn't have a lot of time on this film, it was I think that was the biggest challenge, was just to get everything shot on time, but on a sort of, it's like the difference between going in a car and a bus. Like the bus just takes longer once you're kind of just decided on how you're going to shoot a scene. It's like, if you try to veer away from what your plan was, it takes a long time to kind of adjust. So I think that was the biggest difference. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, now I'm gonna slow kind of move the bus there, then back, and then round. And so I thought, that was the trickiest thing for me.
I think it's also it's good for people to know how long it takes to make a film. I guess like any good relationship, it's long suffering, and it's like you need to navigate it and you need to get through it. But JP, let's talk about maka. I think all families in my Tongan family, we definitely had a maka. I hope it's not me. As much as I loved your performance, I hope it's not me. How was it being in the lead role? And obviously we need to talk about the Tonganness of it all. But how was it being in the lead film of a Tongan feature film?
Yeah, it was honestly incredible and like quite surreal. It's that type of thing where it happens or it's happening and you almost can't believe that it is, or that you've been blessed with this opportunity, because I think I jumped into this acting space quite late, but it's never too late. But I mean, in comparison to some of my friends and stuff, it was something that I picked up and got interested in recently. And before this, I had only had a small extras role on Polynesian Panthers that Noah's also co-wrote and co-producer of. And
Demetrius is on there as well.
Yes, and he had seen, what I was like on social media. He had seen me like on a reality TV comp. So he had seen what I was like on screen, and then like what I was like online, and then just like, I think who I was as a person, and then got me in for an audition. So cut and paste, I went through that process. And when I found out that I got the role, and when I was reading the role as well, when my family read the brief about maka, because not going to lie, I actually am that maka in my family. Maka is like 10 notches up, but, just outside or in that ballpark, I think. But, when I read that out to my family, like recently as well, there's just like, I was like, that role was written for you. And my family's like, man, is this a movie or is this a documentary on your life? Because like I also do music, and I'm forever like pulling on my family and my friends, like, you can come and do hair and makeup, you can come and do choreography, or come be a dancer, like, and it's just telling everyone that they can be a part of this thing that I'm trying to drive. And then to be able to get a role like this, obviously on a much bigger scale, but it meant a lot, and it was, like I said, quite surreal. And it's just buzzy, honestly, to be able to get a role that I can relate to so much, that I can understand and be a part of, like, obviously the Tongan culture and all the different characters that are in it. It was an incredible experience. One that I'm still buzzing out to, like right now. Like, we're in Sydney for the film festival, and 2,000 people plus are going to be there tonight. It's like, what? Just when you think, it's finishing up, like this moment is coming to an end, as God's like, no, not done yet.
It was funny watching your performance, because again, like even just Islander families have a maka, right? And like there were moments where I'm just like, Masi'i, and like one of the characters, I think it was one of the aunties, like said it at the same time, and I turned to Oti and I'm like, there you go. Like, if you know, that's how it's just correct. It's
that's honestly just shows like the power and the importance of like our own stories being told by our own people, but in a way that's relative to the wider audience, and that we have an audience for these film companies and studios and people that have the resources to invest and get these stories told.
I think what's also beautiful about that is recentering, right? It's we're going to make a great film. It's going to mean a lot to us. And if you want to come along the journey, that's great as well. You know what I mean? But see, it's talking about Masi'i, like even Mafana as well. It's interesting because it's one of those words where, and I know you've done it in all interviews. It'll be nice if you'd like to give your meaning as well. But even trying to explain it is something that's it's more felt than it's explained. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like, it's so funny because when we was right throughout the script, and then obviously we experience it as Tongans. But when you're asked to explain it, we're like, when we're doing like our media briefing, like right before this all started. And then we're like, man, it really is that like a culmination. We're always saying like of like happy emotions, pride, joy, and even like being brought to tears when you're talking about things that you love, or it's really important moments in people's lives and your loved ones' lives. And you're expressing that love and gratitude for you, that's also mafana as well.
Yeah.
And like my mate was saying, you know, mafana can also be like when you're giving $100 for talonga and you don't have it, or you need that money for gas.
Yeah.
But it's all right, the car can run on mafana as well. Like, it's just so many different versions of mafana that we try.
We need to talk about the inflation of mafana though. The mafana-flation.
Yes, see, that's another one. That's gonna be like, you know, like a what do you call it? Like another term that branches off mafana. But yeah, and it was just so cool to be able to get the opportunity to bring that to life, and
Yeah, absolutely.
put it on screen.
I would love to talk about the production design and the costume. And obviously, I don't want to take too many moments in regards to it, but there was a returned missionary. As someone that grew up Mormon, there was a returned missionary comment. It had me out. I got knocked out. We needed to pause the screener. But I want to talk about how important production design is, and also how important costuming is, especially to a film like Red, White, and Brass.
Yeah, we had, it was really important for us as well to make sure that everything was authentic as possible.
Yeah.
So we had Ems, who did the production design, was awesome because she is Tongan, but she's also like, she just brought so much like the reality.
Yeah.
And it's me being non-Tongan, I was always like, we'd have all these discussions early on in the pre-production, and we'd talk about things, and then she'd explain to me a lot of the things of like what these things are. And there's a lot of, because now that I've seen the film so many times, now I look at the background and I'm always like, and I kind of buzz out on the little details that I missed, you know, when you're looking at these faces and watching that. And then sometimes I'm like, why is there so many pictures of horses in the background? And I was like, I don't know if that's a Tongan thing or
It's
like, I say loi hosi kind of.
Yeah, it's heka hosi time, Damon.
But there were things like that, and but it was just and one of the most joyful experiences was actually because we originally were going to film in Nua's actual church, which was in the heart of, it's in Wellington City, but for a lot of reasons it was going to be too hard to film there because we couldn't get parking and couldn't set lights up. So we had this big search for a church, and then when we finally found the place, just both Ems and I were kind of looking at each other, and we just fell in love with this location, and it just had the feel that just felt right. It felt like it was a smaller church, so it had kind of this feeling of being a little bit more underdog as well, and but also the people there there was like a garden there, and the first day when we went to look at the place, they had fruit and vegetable boxes for people, so there's just kind of a general nice feeling about it. And I don't know.
And you know what's even funnier?
Oh, yeah.
It's a Samoan church.
Oh.
So they came back one day, and we had that big sila on the wall. And they came, it actually got put up on TikTok the week we were filming, and they're when you come back to your Samoan church and there's a massive Tongan shield on the wall. That's so crack up there. But yeah, Ems killed it. Daisy, she's not Tongan, but she was honestly did her research. She was costume design. Ems Mafileo, she art department, HOD. She was amazing. Again, that thing of like making sure that you have, people that are from that world that are able to be on board the project and bring that authenticity to it.
Nathan Lees is Tongan to me.
Oh, yes. Well, he is now. He is now. Head Whaiwhekau.
Him in the church. Yeah, all together.
Yeah. But even I think because Nua was on set most of the time, he was the sort of the guardian or the gatekeeper of making sure that everything was authentic, partly to the time and the place and to his family, but also that it was Tongan, and even down to like the haircuts, because like the haircut for Samasoni was like very specific. It was
I love Samsoni. I think everyone had a Samsoni growing up. Like a random, not even a relative, just like staying with you for an indefinite amount of time.
Yeah.
Like, why can't you be more like Samsoni?
But their haircut was very specific, and they did it the first time, and it was like, oh no, it's more like this. And I think it was like, oh, we'll go see my cousin and get him to do it.
Yeah, there was always that, and you know that what in the Return Missionary line, like that was ad lib, and we were always like, when we got what we needed, Damon and Noah would be like, okay, we've got what we needed, like you guys can ad lib now, or even sometimes we'll just be cheeky and we'll just like pull out the foul little ad libs, and then they're like, what did you say?
Oh, I loved it. It was so delicious because to me, all the Katalika, you know, all the Wesleyiana Tongans were always cooler, especially with like the brass bands as well. I was like, oh man. And then when they had that line, I was like, this is for me. Like, this is specifically for me.
Yes.
And that was one of the things that was important for us as well, because that was a line that not everyone would have got, but it was like for Noah that was one of the lines that Noah really fought for in the post-production process. Yeah, when you're kind of like, you've got the film and you've got the story, and then you've got those variations of takes or like a line where you're like, oh, would enough people get it? Do we go for the joke? Do we go for something else? And that was one of those lines that Noah was like, oh no, Tongans will find that funny.
Yeah.
And he fought for it. So it was.
Bro, they're honestly dying when they hear it. And I was like, flip, I didn't realize it was that funny. That's what I mean, like so normal. That's just like us talking to our cousins that look like Return Missionaries, because they are.
I'm excited for the premiere tonight. It's gonna go off. It's gonna go off. Or if you hear one person cackling, it's me.
We can't wait to see you there then.
Yeah. It's a massive theater too. It's like apparently seats 2,000 people. And I was like, what? That's so hopefully
it's gonna go off. It's gonna be exciting. There are a couple of themes that I wanted to touch on that are inside of the film. I wrote Tokoni or bust. That's the way I wrote it. Of coming up together. If we come up, we come up together. You don't go around and do your own thing. We're all going to come up together. I want to talk a little bit about the story, but also in the making of that. Because, even talking about the production design, how everyone just came together.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in terms of the some of the things, I mean, we were always like, the film was an exploration of what it is to be Tongan and to be Pacifica as well. And when we were writing it, basically the two lead roles of Maka and Veni was pretty much Nua and me. So me being Veni as like a Pacific Islander who's not as attached to my culture and to who's kind of doesn't speak the language and has been sort of slightly removed from my Samoan heritage. It was kind of like a lot of Veni's character was me, or from my experience, and for Maka, it was like Nua embodies Maka, and it was kind of through Veni as kind of like we explore what it means to be Tongan. As he, to me, the film's actually Veni's story. And in some ways, if you were going to break it down as character things, that the character who changes the most or has the biggest arc is Veni. He sort of starts as the plastic Tongan who doesn't have the Tongan church clothes and doesn't speak the language. Yeah, the coconut. Yeah, brown on the outside, white on the inside, and always been called plastic. And that was so his journey was kind of, in some ways, how we explored the themes of the films. And so you've got Maka as the character who is explaining this is the Tongan way. Yeah. And he does it throughout, whether it's through his words or even demonstrating, this is how you cut the taro. Yeah. And it's like that was the relationship. And that was kind of, Veni's journey as he goes, becomes more Tongan. So by the end of the film, you see him and he's fully, spoiler alert, like he's, performing.
And he loves it.
Yeah.
There's no spoiler to Tonga Pacifica Joy.
I know. It's a happy, he finds his happy place. But that was, a lot of the themes we explored through that relationship.
Mm-hmm. Don't worry, like sitting there in a dark room sipping wine is definitely me.
Oh yeah.
Think of all the times. But I think even it wasn't specifically on Veni, but personally in my experience, it was a conflict of prioritizing my parents learning English, which is also, you know, me not learning Tongan as much as I could have, right? So it's understanding that complexity and, you know, all of those layers as well. But I absolutely resonated. There was definitely notes in regards to Veni going through these sort of experiences, a lot of pivotal sort of scenes, character growth, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I mean, that scene we had, we actually ended up cutting that one down a bit, but we had a lot more of like, because Vinny basically hosts all of his friends, the cousins, to come and watch the Rugby World Cup, but it's kind of like
They all just showed up in that scene, yeah.
they're basically just there, yeah. But we had a extra part where it was like he'd put on like all the the snacks were like tapas, kind of like bougie kind of food, and had the red wine and
a bit of goat's
like,
cheese, you reckon?
Yeah.
Bit of hummus, you reckon?
yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes, I forgot about that.
Remember that? And then and then
Oh, that didn't make the cut.
it didn't make the cut. There's a
right.
few scenes, but it was like it was just kind of extended that whole thing of like all the boys going, hey, where's the chicken? Where's the
Yeah.
why could we just get some KFC?
Yeah, it was a funny scene. Extended version coming soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
JP, did you want to comment on anything about being Tongan enough, not being Tongan enough, being a
Yeah, I think, well, just going off like Veni and his journey, I think even though he was obviously starting from a place where he was quite disconnected from his culture, I think a lot of people can relate to that. And he did drive that storyline of that constant conflict, you know, between wanting to be Tongan but not feeling Tongan enough, or not feeling close enough to your culture, or not knowing your language enough. So how much can you actually claim to be of that, you know, particular culture? And I think he drove that really well. That was so strong, but also, you know, the different nuances that come with being Tongan, and, you know, the conflicts we face with our parents and wanting to do things that I could relate to as well, you know, not following what I studied, but doing, you know, working in this industry now, trying to convince people. It's like you're forever trying to convince people that, you know, we do have what it takes, or that I have what it takes, so that we can do it, and not to worry about what anyone else thinks about you. All those types of things that we experience as Tongans, we're able to bring to life through the film. And I think even though it was like a comedy, acting those things out was quite surreal. And like, you know, we felt my fun about it a lot, or like it really hit home when we're having those or filming those scenes, because we know it so well, you know, being told that you can't do this because people are going to look at our family funny, or you shouldn't do this because that's not what the sacrifices were made for. Like all those different I think nuances of being Tongan, and all our different experiences were able, I guess everyone that was involved in the film was able to bring it together to create this beautiful story that everyone could relate to, regardless of whether you're Tongan or not.
I wish we had the time, but I would also plug to our friends and lovers to check out JP's interview on the Pacific Morning Show, I think it's called, Pacific Good Morning.
Yeah.
It was really good. Like, I really appreciated it. I know what it's like to be on like the outside, trying to get inside of the community. But yeah, I wish we had the time. But I do have a question before we get to the final question. And it's pretty much, you know, we're like the Pacific United Nations at the moment. And it's like, as a Tongan, like, I don't know about the word critic, but as a Tongan film person, being able to cover a Tongan, thank you, a Tongan film with Pacifica, you know, to have this interview, it really means a lot, and it hits different. Absolutely. And the question that I have is, when we come together, you know, it's always a good time, you know, but how do you know that this wasn't just going to be all fun, that you actually tapped into something special?
I think for me, it was when we did our first table reading, because we were all, you could feel it in the room that we were like emotional by the time we got to the end piece. And I think there's some things that like there's some things that that's just God's work. Like you can feel it. Like there's no way that with my lack of acting experience that I could have got a role like this that I can relate directly to and be able to carry it out and do the role justice. If the right things didn't align for me. And it can all be fun and games and we love to have a kata. And it's we know how to have a good time. But yeah, there were several moments in the film when we knew it was going to be something quite special. Just the fact we were able to have mum and dad on set, Noah's parents. That first table read, like I said, seeing the uniforms when we would walk past a costume room and would see it there.
God, man.
Yeah, and then actually being able to put it on. And everyone else you'll see what else. I mean, go watch the movie.
Yeah, I think for me it was there was a scene where we filmed, there was a hymn that the band performed before they go out to do their final performance. And in the script, it was always an important scene, but it wasn't. I think in some ways it becomes one of the most important scenes in the whole film because it's kind of the culmination of, and also you see the main characters not through words, not through like scripted words, but you see that moment of change that happens as they perform. And it's kind of that moment when you see Veni kind of fully connect to his Tongan heritage, like proudly singing. And then you see also the journey that Maka's had, who's kind of, in some ways, almost a petulant child who hasn't got his way at the end, suddenly like feeling a sense of responsibility that he's got to go out, regardless of how he feels, he's got to go and represent his community in the best way possible. And it never occurred to me really how important that scene was. And then when we filmed it and how good the singing voices of this crew, this cast. And I remember when Tony, who was our sound recordist, because I kind of listened when they do a performance, I'd listen on headphones, and they're not very good. It's kind of like you get sort of a basic, the sound coming through. And then after one of the takes, while we were resetting, Tony came up to me and he played back like the good version, like he kind of did a quick mix and he gave me his expensive headphones and he put it on. It's like tears were coming down and people were walking past going, what's wrong with him? And it's like, but I had that moment of just realizing, I think that was a moment of going, I think we've got something special here. Like if just from hearing the sound of the song was pretty amazing.
Yeah, therapy is very important. I believe in therapy, but hearing Tongan hymns out loud, that will heal everything.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You forget about everything. You're like, that's okay. That's
I'm
right.
fine. I'm floating. If we can quickly finish off, we finish our reviews with a recommendation. So what would you pair with Red, White and Brass as a double feature?
As a double feature?
I think my one
I'm still thinking.
Yeah, I'll go while you're thinking. I think my one would be Cool Runnings.
Nice.
I think that was our kind of, for me, that was like one of the more kind of inspirational films for me when we were sort of trying to work out what is this kind of film? It's kind of a fish out of water vibe, but like this, like seeing these Jamaicans like in the Winter Olympics, it was kind of like, seeing this group of Tongans kind of out in a car park playing their instruments. So it was kind of, there were a lot of parallels, but also I think we wanted to do something similar in terms of the emotional journey, getting the feels, and also just in terms of tone, that it's like, here's a family film, everyone can go and watch it. It's not it's a broad film made for everyone.
I think definitely Cool Runnings, agree with that one. Also maybe Sister Act 2, Drumline. Yeah, Sister Act 2, some aspects really reminded me of that whole, that whole cast on Sister Act 2. They had to create a choir and get to like an end competition and go up against the church, really. And the parents telling them not to sing. Yeah, that reminded me a lot of that. And Drumline, for obvious reasons, with the instruments and stuff, is a lot of fun.
I love that question because and it was also so like easy for you guys to be able to answer that as well. But it helps draw. So go and watch Red, White, and Brass twice, but also go and watch those films as well. Malo Aupito, Whaafatai Lava. Thank you so much, and congratulations on a great film.
Malo Apito. We'll see you later tonight.
Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having us.
Malo. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.